Hello and welcome to the Versa Creative Podcast. My name is Tony Martinez and I'm an SEO specialist at Versa Creative and our podcast host. Versa Creative is an award-winning marketing and advertising agency dedicated to empowering brands with result-driven strategies. The Versa Creative Podcast is our place to have a discussion on the marketing industry, marketing trends, and most importantly, provide insights to our listeners from our experts. On today's podcast, I have the pleasure of speaking with Versa Creative's traditional media manager, Sean Wilson, on traditional marketing and media.
Hi, Tony. How are you this morning?
I'm great. Thank you for being here, Sean.
Thank you for having me.
Before we dive in, tell us about yourself, Sean.
What would you like to know? Besides, I've been with Versa Creative for 6 years. This type of work is my life. I've been in radio or some type of marketing position since the early 90s.
Fantastic. So that's why today you're our Versa Creative expert on traditional media, and let's dive in and give our listeners some insights. So, Sean, give me some examples of the different types of traditional media and marketing. What do I mean when I say that?
What do you mean when you say that?
Yes.
You mean what's the definition or define traditional media marketing?
What comes to mind and what do people think of?
What do people think of? They think of billboards. They think of radio. They think of TV. They think of print ads. They think of direct mail. They think of cable commercials. They think of OTT, which is over the top. That's for cable cord cutters.
What do you think of as the expert? Anything outside of that?
There is digital radio as well versus terrestrial radio. And terrestrial radio is the FM dial, the AM FM dial that's in your car. That's terrestrial. Digital radio is like the Sirius sound. Even though it's in your car, it's what you listen to on your computer or your phone. You have the Sirius sound. You have XM radio. Well, that's the same. XM radio, Sirius sound is the same. But those types of radio, like the online radio channels versus a channel that you get in your car.
Awesome. So now that we've covered what traditional media is, it's a large landscape covering radio, TV, physical, all types of things. What benefits does it offer businesses?
One, the grand benefit is brand awareness, because you could have a company such as Versa Creative, and people have never heard of Versa Creative and they don't know what Versa Creative is. Having a TV commercial gives them an idea of what Versa Creative is. So that's a way to get your name out there, to let people know that you're out there.
So just like any other type of marketing, traditional marketing obviously has a strategy behind it. What advice do you give to people who are developing their traditional media marketing strategy?
My sole advice is consistency. You can't say I'm going to go with this and it's 1 month and you feel that you're not receiving any results, and then you quit. That's not ideal for you. You have to be consistent. You have to give it a chance for it to resonate in people's head and in their minds that, for example, I'll say Versa Creative, that Versa Creative does exist. And then that puts trust in them as well, because you don't want to just advertise for 30 days, for example, and then you disappear. And I may have heard you on the radio one day, and then I'm wondering, what was that company that I heard? And then I wonder if they're still in business, because I only heard them that one time. So that's a trust factor that leaves you wondering if they are in fact still in business. Those types of things.
Yeah, I think another part of consistency is like using different channels. So if you have a TV ad, you can incorporate radio, you can incorporate mail, just again to reinforce and build that trust.
Absolutely. Now, the thing with that, which you add in layers to it, a lot of people think that they wouldn't have the budget to do that. But there are all types of ways that you could actually incorporate those different mediums into it, even if you're having budgetary constraints. So while you think something may be expensive, that's why you come to an agency or you go to a buyer. and you find out what are the different opportunities for it. There could be discounts out there. There could be a program where a station is having a fire sale, and where you think that it'll cost this amount of money, it's actually that amount of money.
Yeah, you brought up the point of cost. I think generally smaller businesses may see traditional media as out of their reach, especially because, like, I think the first thing that comes to mind with traditional is TV. And for a lot of companies, they might think TV is out of their budget, or maybe they just don't have the resources for it. What advice can you give these companies? Like, what can they do to get into traditional?
First of all, I think if you come to an agency, you have to trust that the agency is going to work for you and they're going to work on your behalf. Again, one thing that works well as far as an agency goes is they have leverage as far as negotiating for you. You give them a budget and you may say, I only have $2,000. What could we do with $2,000? There may be some type of online package that you can do for that $2,000. There may be some type of promotion or sponsorship that you can do for that $2,000. Just because you only have $2,000 does not mean that you can't afford to be on radio, television, or do a billboard or a podcast, for example, or even a print ad. Just let the agency do the work for you and figure out what it is that they can come up with to help you with your budget.
Yeah, one of the recent discussions we were having here at Versa was how a lot of the times marketing agencies seem kind of out of reach, similarly to traditional media because of cost. But in reality, when it comes down to it, working with an agency and working with an expert like yourself is time saving and it's efficient because, like you said, you have those relationships and you can take a budget and extend it so much further than someone else can.
Absolutely. Versus you doing it on your own, again, because an agency will have a little bit more leverage with the vendors in the market versus you going into a station cold turkey and not knowing what it is that you're actually wanting or actually getting. And so that way, if you have somebody working on your behalf, you'll come out better.
All right, Sean. So since you said you have a lot of experience in this industry, you've been in it since the early 90s, you said, can you tell me about one of your favorite campaigns you've worked on?
I want to say it was Obamacare when he introduced it into the market, and it was like it was going live. I had the opportunity to put together a campaign for a healthcare provider that was here in Houston. The interesting thing about it was new into the market. So this was something that no one had done before because this was president had just like put it into effect. So being able to work on a campaign from the start of it being so new and helping create brand awareness in the market was actually exciting.
In the example you just provided, you mentioned a healthcare campaign. And while we're talking about different industries, my next question was actually, is there one industry that works best for traditional media? Does it work all around? What are your thoughts on this?
I don't think that there's one medium that works best. It's going to depend on your client. While television is tangible, um, digital may not be tangible, and it may not work for your client because, let's say, for examples, we're doing something that's involving seniors, and you may think, oh, digital is the way to go, or we're going to do this online campaign. You have to think for a second. Not every senior is digital or tech savvy. So most of the times they're watching the news, they're reading the newspaper, or they're probably listening to some show on an AM dial. So those are going to work better versus taking your campaign total digitally because that audience is not as savvy online versus doing the traditional types of marketing.
Those are fighting words. As someone on the digital team, I would like to say that I can probably get senior citizens on your website. I think my management would agree. Sean, what do you think?
Well, we can agree to disagree on that, Tony, because I still think that there is a huge population out there that is not tech savvy. So while you're reaching some, you're not reaching all. And if it would work great if you could all do them all together, but there are some that just aren't internet tech savvy.
Yeah, like you said, that was obviously a joke.
Of course,
But
absolutely.
but yeah, no,
Absolutely.
when it comes down to it, I think it really just comes down to like your marketing strategy and how you decide and your research. You need to know your audience. And like you said, are they tech savvy? Are they going to be on this platform over another? Are they going to listen to the radio, or are they going to be on Spotify or something? Figuring out and doing your research is really key to any marketing campaign, whether that's digital or traditional.
Absolutely. And I was going to say that is a key factor because you can come to me and you can say, oh, we have this particular client. And I can't just say, oh, great, this is going to work. You need to research it first before you just say, oh, this will work. Because once you dive into your research, you may say, TV works better than radio for them because this is something that's more visual than audio. So it's just going to depend, and that goes as far as digital too. There's some things that will work better digitally versus more terrestrial wise.
So you mentioned that a lot of traditional campaigns focus on brand awareness, but are there other types of campaigns outside of brand awareness, maybe more action driven or something like that?
Absolutely. There's call to action where you're not just speaking of your brand, you're actually telling them to go click or call or visit, or you're giving them hours. So there's call to action. There's sale campaigns where you can have a Labor Day sale or a 24-hour sale, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So, yes, besides brand awareness, there are different campaigns that are out there.
Awesome, thank you. So my final question for you is, why do you think our listeners who aren't already using traditional media should consider adding it to their marketing strategy?
Well, if they want to build their business and grow their business, I think they should absolutely think about it. Some are, again, afraid because they think they don't have the budget, but allow us the opportunity to work out something for you, and we could definitely help you in that sense.
Yeah, I think just to reinforce it one more time, when it comes down to it, your marketing strategy should encompass all types of different approaches: digital, traditional, focus on your website, focus on developing your brand awareness through radio, TV, whatever it might be. When it comes down to it, I think a full service agency like Versa Creative can develop the best strategy for your company and your needs. So, one of the questions that traditional media or really any type of marketing strategy should have is what is success and what does that look like?
So, for example, what it would look like is we're doing a campaign for you, and your call to action is give us a call at 877-7777, for example. While your phones weren't ringing before the campaign started, your phones are now ringing, and people are saying, I saw your commercial, I heard your spot on the radio, and I'm calling to get more information. That's one way of measuring success.
Yeah, on the digital side, if like you're worried about that, we can obviously use modern technology to create new phone numbers. That way you can see how many calls a certain phone number is getting, especially if that phone number was like on a billboard or on a print campaign. That way you have that tangible number. Oh, the billboard number got X number of calls. The mailer number got this many calls this month. Again, there are ways to track it. You just have to think creatively and come up with the best strategy for your campaign.
And another way is you can also look at your web traffic. If your web traffic has increased over the month and you added the layer of television to it, you can attribute that to some of that TV advertising as well.
Yeah, again, in a similar way to the phone number, you can have TV specific related pages or landing pages where certain traffic is driven to. And again, it gives you one way to measure a campaign success, and that way you can see the fruits of your labor.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to episode 5 of the Versa Creative Podcast. I would like to thank Sean Wilson for being here today, and thank you, our listener, for listening. If you have any questions for me, Sean, or any of our Versa Creative experts, please email us at info@versacreative.com. You can find the email listed below. If you're ready to get results, or if you need a full-service marketing agency, please contact us via our website at versacreative.com.